Hey, I'm Jake from the Fireside Tattoo Network, and this is our Memphis podcast series. So, what is a Memphis podcast series? Imagine for a minute if you were thinking of maybe relocating to tattoo in a new town, or maybe just doing a guest spot in a new town, and you had the opportunity to pick the brains of some of the more established artists in that town. What kind of questions might you ask them? Maybe questions about the clientele, the tattoo culture, shop environment, things like that. Well, we thought that might be a fun basis for a series of podcasts, so that's what we're doing here. We started in Memphis because it's our hometown and we know a lot of tattooers in the area and we already have a good feel for the culture. It's kind of like our beta version of this. But if you think that your town might be a good candidate for a series like this, shoot us an email at info@firesidetats.com, let us know why, and maybe we'll make your town the next stop. If you have any questions for Memphis tattooers, feel free to send those to the same address. Thank you guys, as always, for supporting what we do. Rolling on everything? Wait, let me do a better one than that. That wasn't good. We're in. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, the official podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Hold on. Go to Fireside. Nope. Go to tattooimprovement.com. I do that a lot, huh? Go to tattooimprovement.com and sign up for our mailing list if you want new recipes every day and shirtless photos of Scott since he's getting so lean, if you guys haven't seen him lately. So what's going on? We're going, 2 weeks? No, maybe by the time this show comes out, like literally days or a week until Nick Baxter's painting workshop right here in this very spot. You should sign up, come paint with me, paint with Nick, a bunch of other good tattooers, like we were talking about, all coming in from out of town. Almost no Memphis tattooers.
Shit,
crazy.
dude, now that I'm realizing this, remind me tonight. I need to sign up for that.
Sweet. I'm here with Dustin Schild, Memphis tattooer. So we're continuing our Memphis tattoo series and kind of picking the brains of local tattooers, seeing what they think about living and working in this city. What else, real quick, for housework before we get into that, though? Hell City, we'll be tattooing and podcasting at Hell City, Phoenix. Derek Morrison's super cool convention with the big pool. What else? Impact Project in September. Impact Project, impactfortattooers.com. I'll be doing something there. I'll be on stage speaking, running my mouth about something. I'll be in their VIP think tank, bouncing ideas. If you bought the VIP ticket, then come give me a hug. What else? Maybe an art room. Maybe I'll be, if I stick around for the last day, which depends on my flight, I may be leading an art room there with Nick Baxter, maybe, which would be fun. That's it. Nothing else is going on. That's it for the whole year, I hope. So like I said before, I'm here with Dustin Schild, Studio 42. He owns. Are you the sole owner of Studio 42?
Yes, I currently am.
Yeah. So you had partners early on, right?
Yeah, actually, I found the shop with a guy named Carl Boschers. He owns Illusion Ink down in South Haven.
Yeah, I've never met him.
It was a break off of the tattoo spot. I'd helped him open it over on Highland. And after a couple years, it became necessary for me to move out on my own.
Wait, is there a guy named Mike was that guy involved in the tattoo
Yes,
spot?
Mike Luster on that place.
Luster, right. I know him a little bit.
Yeah, he and I opened it, worked there for a couple years, and then I decided I need to get out. Started looking at my options, and building my own place seemed to be the best idea. I'm not really much for people telling me what to do. So KP, Kyle Payne, and I, we moved out there. Once. Yeah, I've seen it. It was a wonderful show.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah, he's a terrific artist. An amazing. God, that guy's just unbelievable. But he and I moved out there, and we kind of had a trade-off as friends. Like, I'd met him hanging around Memphis College of Art, and the deal was, you teach me art, and I'll teach you tattoo. Huh. And so we traded off. We opened the shop together, and then eventually bought Carl out with the aid of my girlfriend at the time. And then slowly but surely, as the relationship dissolved, the business relationship dissolved, and then it was me and KP, and then he wanted to go on to pastures anew and experience new things in life, and I wasn't going to stand in his way. So then somehow or another I got stuck out on the place by myself. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Never thought I'd be a businessman, but hey, I'm taking it for what it's worth, having fun.
Yeah. So you see advantages to having a business partner, or do you prefer? Would you take on another partner if the opportunity presented?
Oh yeah,
itself?
absolutely, absolutely. And the reason being is, I mean, trying to run a business by yourself, like, I mean, I'm a tattooer, you know. All I want to do is tattoo. My body pierces well, but my focus is primarily on tattooing. And then you start throwing all these other aspects, you know, bills. You know, how are we going to take care of this, take care of that, expanding, managing other artists. You know, these are all things that sounded really simple in the beginning, and now, fuck it, dude. Like, I just do not want to deal with that stuff. So I've gotten to the point where now I've hired a manager, and she runs all those aspects, and I can sit back and I can just relax. Because it got to the point where it was overwhelming. You know, you're trying to tattoo full time. I'm also making tattoo equipment as well, so I'm trying to fit that into my schedule, and then running this business, and it's just that overwhelming. So having a business partner, I think, is imperative. You know, and I don't know. As it currently sits, I'm content with my situation, but I don't know if I'll own that shop in 10 years. You know, just kind of playing it by ear, and one day if I decide it's time to quit, then you know, it's time to move on and do something different.
Yeah. Would you be opposed to just renting a booth at a shop someplace and not?
Oh yeah. Opposed to? Oh no,
opposed to it.
No,
You'd be
not
okay
opposed
with that.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, it would actually be nice. I actually I was looking at your setup earlier, and it's absolutely wonderful. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you just work for you. You do your thing. You know, there's no hassles. There's no any of the other stuff involved. You know, it's you and your art. You know, and that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, renting a booth elsewhere, dude.
Be down with it.
Yeah. Tell me about all the problems I'd get rid of with doing that.
Yeah. So you've been tattooing how long overall?
Roughly about 15 years now.
Okay. Pretty good while then. You said you came from Iowa originally?
I originally came from a small town called Quincy, Illinois. It's directly across the river from Hannibal, Missouri, Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, and all that stuff. Grew up there till about 9 years old. My father got involved in the casino business, and that started shipping us around the country. And then leaving, Gulfport or New Orleans, one of the two. The two options were Sydney, Australia, and Memphis, Tennessee. And Australia sounded so wonderful, and God forbid my father take that choice. So we moved to Memphis, and fucking 22 years later, here I am. I'm still fucking pissed at him about that one.
So over 20 years, you've only been a tattooer in Memphis then?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, I've done some traveling. I've spent 6 months a year here or there, but I mean, it always brings me back home to Memphis. It's a wonderful town. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's I mean, it has its problems, I guess, like any town, but it you know, the thing I always notice about Memphis is that, like, when you get out of Memphis, you run into anyone else from. It's like if you have a little brother or big brother and you can't stand each other, but then the second anyone else has anything to say to them, it's the outside of Memphis, we defend each other really, really well. I think it's a tight knit group that doesn't always like each other when they're together.
That's probably the best definition of it, because here in town, everybody's talking about just how bad they want to get out, but the minute you get out, like you said, you know, you say something bad about Memphis, we can fight over that. Right. There's not a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, it is. So one thing that I wanted to talk to you about in particular is the location of your shop. So we're doing this series, and for those of you who just jumped in on this series, what we're doing is imagine for a second, if you are a tattooer, I assume you may be if you're watching the show, and you were going to either move to a new town, relocate, get a job tattooing, or just maybe do an extended guest spot or something like that, and you had the chance to sit down with a few veteran tattooers from that town and pick their brains about whatever, the clientele, the tattoo culture, the, whatever, what minimum charges, hourly rates, and whatever you'd want to know, like what kind of stuff would you ask them? And so that's kind of what the purpose of this series, and we're hoping maybe to, after we leave Memphis, which is our hometown, which is why we started here, we may branch out and go to other towns. So if your town is a good candidate, let us know. But one thing with your shop in particular is that it's kind of in the suburbs. Like we've talked to like shops in the University of Memphis area. Yeah. We're in Midtown here, a lot of Midtown shops, downtown, and most cities are most tattoo shops seem to be in those areas. You're really surrounded by a lot of suburbia over there, huh?
Yeah. Actually, it was kind of weird how it came about. I live in Midtown. I worked over on Highland. Midtown is home to me. If I had my choice, I would have opened in Midtown. When it came time to start searching out locations, it was very, very apparent that anywhere in Midtown that I was going to open up on a friend of mine's toes. Opening up a mile down the road, I don't know. I just don't want to be disrespectful. Obviously, Angela and the fine folks over at Underground, I didn't want to step on their toes and use Cooper Young. Then you got the No Regrets guys over on Madison, and it's as much as I wanted to be here, I wanted to still be respectful to the other local artists. And we started looking out in that area. KP actually was from out in that area, and the quality that was being produced out there at the time we opened, I think circa 2008. Something like that. It was really subpar.
Yeah.
It was still kind of in those old bikers days, Cherry Creek Flash, guys that didn't exactly make art, but as long as you had a sweet mullet, and and a time machine tattoo machine, you're set, dude.
Yeah.
And so when we looked around the area, we thought, maybe it's time to start bringing some of this quality out to this area. We had many clients that are already driving to us from that area, so it just made sense to just kind of cut it off and set up out there. I wasn't sure of it, but we opened up, I think, January 8th, 2008, and it took off immediately. Like, I was extremely surprised at the response we got. I knew we'd do well, but how quick we did well was extremely exciting. So
that's interesting. So what percentage of your immediate clientele do you think that you guys brought just because you were already established?
I would say, I don't know, maybe about 60% of our clientele, was already based on people. Because, at the time I opened that shop, I'd already been tattooing, 6-7 years, something like that. I'd spent 2 years in Midtown, and I had a really good base of friends, and friends that, relentlessly advertised us. A good friend of mine, Alex Pilkington, did a bunch of commercials for us when we first opened. The word of mouth got everything out there. I've never done real advertising. I wouldn't even know where to start. So everything's always been word of mouth, but we've had all these clients that followed us out. And then surprisingly, there used to be that shop called Tattoo U that I think Rick Cosmo opened maybe about a mile and a half down the street.
That was on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah, it was over near the Harley Davidson down there.
Yep.
And he had shut down, I guess, a year or two prior to. So when we opened up, there was a lot of people that actually confused us for being that shop. I guess there was, people had already known that there was a tattoo establishment in the area, so we just filled that void. And it tended to work out great for us because you have all those apartment complexes. You've got, miles of suburbia. And at the time, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 other shops in the area. So the minute we opened up, it did not take long for everything to really ramp up and, get to the point where I had to bring in other artists because we just couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah. And no doubt in that area, from a quality standpoint, you were like heads above whatever else had been out there.
Yeah. And I hate to talk like that because I'm not much on the ego, but that's really what it was. We were just bringing a brand of tattooing that to us here in Midtown was the norm, I moved to Midtown and I got to see guys like you or Ben Reese or Tony Max and all these guys just really pushing the envelope. Like, when I first moved to Midtown, I thought I was doing some shit. I was tattooing this little ghetto-ass shop down next to the Nike factory. I came out here thinking, I'm going to show some people some stuff. Right. I remember walking into Underground and walking into Trilogy and look at the portfolios and be like, fuck, what'd I get myself into? Yeah, these guys are operating on levels I haven't even understood. And so to start kind of, basing my, my abilities and where I'm trying to go to on what's being done around me, it really helped me push my levels even further. And then when it became time to open the shop, we went out there and it showed. It showed. Just spending a couple of years in this area around more competitive artists, more like-minded artists, it helped me take something out there that area sorely lacked, And so I think it's been a good marriage out there. We've coming up on our 10th year anniversary. Our clientele base is doing wonderful. We brought a couple new artists in this year. And, as we spoke earlier.
And I wanted to get into that a little bit. So you've brought a couple of Spanish-speaking tattooers in, which is something – Memphis has a pretty significant Spanish population, but no businesses in Memphis outside of in those little pockets that are heavily Hispanic. Businesses in Memphis overall are not really – bending over backwards to learn a new language or anything like that. So you having artists that are speaking Spanish, that are working in styles that Spanish people typically like to work in, whether it's, a lot of black and gray, maybe lettering, a lot of stuff like that. A lot of those people, there's no place else that they could find anywhere in this town that bring that to the table. So that's a really unique thing that you guys.
Well, I mean, I'd been monitoring these two particular artists. One's named Oso Granite, and the other one is Polo Espinoza. Okay. They both have been working locally in some other shops that were kind of on the outskirts of town. They weren't shops most people would have known about, but the work they were doing was phenomenal, and I got to watch these guys develop. And a couple years back, we actually wound up at the Due South Tattoo Convention in a booth right next to them. So we got to spend the entire convention hanging out with these guys and just watching them work. And I was amazed at, like, wow, you guys are doing a lot of stuff that I've been a fan of for years. But as you said, it's not something you would typically see in the Memphis area, at least genre-wise. Right. And so, just staying in touch with them, going out having drinks from time to time, it became apparent that they might be looking for a new place to work. And so when the timing kind of lined up, we made them an offer. They seemed more than happy to come out and join. And they joined up. Polo joined with us December of this past year, and then also soon followed him in January. But the genre of tattooing they're doing, it's wonderful because, like I said, I mean, they're bringing something to the table that the other four guys in the shop aren't, and that's always something that I've had to be kind of conscious about, is because I don't want to bring artists into the shop that are constantly stepping on each other's toes, and obviously you want guys to learn from each other and to push each other's boundaries, and I mean, that's what we're there for. We're a group, we work together, we're a team, but it's also nice to know that when somebody walks in for a black and gray portrait, that is not my bag. Right. I would like to hand them over to somebody that specializes in that particular aspect, and both of these guys are doing amazing jobs with that stuff. So I mean, it's brought a lot of clientele in, obviously Spanish speaking, which I'm fucking no way, that's not me. Yeah, to bring in clients that normally wouldn't be in the shop, and the genres that they like that we haven't had in our 10 years there. So it's nice. We've got a nice balance now. I mean, with me and two of the other artists, we all kind of work in similar styles, and then we've got these two cats, and they're completely on a different page. But the techniques that we've actually started picking up, like at 16, 15 years tattooing now, I'm literally getting to a point where I'm learning all kinds of new stuff, and it's simply because I'm getting to see stuff that, on every day that I wasn't seeing before. So, it's I think it's helped everybody in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. When you mentioned that to me before the show, it just like light bulb for me. I was like, God, yeah. I have an office building on Sycamore View, and Macon, right, not far from you.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm there a lot, and I in that area, I've noticed has become more and more Hispanic all through there anyway.
Yeah, there's a massive population in this town, and like you said, it just seems to me that like a lot of people aren't catering to them, or I mean, as a non-Spanish speaking person, maybe I'm just obviously I don't see it. Those are circles I wasn't running in prior to, but I mean, there's a wealth of population in this town that that needs that demand, and these guys are providing it, and they're fucking doing an amazing job at it every day.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So we've on to kind of the city in general, the tattoo culture here. You mentioned a couple of times that you were careful not to step on other artists' toes, trying to be respectful of other shops. Do you feel like that's something that's reciprocated from other tattooers in this town as a whole? If you think about Memphis tattooing as a whole, do you see it as being kind of...
I think a lot of it comes down to, I mean, I don't know. I could give it like a black and white answer, but ultimately it's going to be a great thing, And you got some people that, you're friendly with. They're going to be respectful. And for the most part, I do see everybody in this town being respectful to one another, at least, trying to be considerate of others. Now, then you get some people, that may not run in your circles, or, they may just be running scratcher shops, just dive bomb holes in the wall. And those guys obviously clearly don't give a shit. I mean, they'll pop up. I think we've seen 3 or 4 of them pop up in our 10-year span. They pop up 6 months later, they shut back down, and so, it's what it is, if you're willing to go to the point of opening up on your neighbor, well, then you're prepared to go to war, and, it's everybody's shot there, and if, hell, if you stop by and knock on my door, tell me you're open up down the street, cool, I want to be friends with everybody. I want to see where, you guys are taking stuff, and hopefully we can learn stuff from each other, so, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's a mixed bag.
Yeah. The same idea, the same subject came up with Nathan last week, and we both kind of felt like you can almost draw a line in the quality of shops from those that you're talking about that kind of seem to pop up and go away. Did he say that there were over 70 shops in the city, or 40?
Are we up to 70 now?
50-something? Whatever it was, it seemed outrageous to me. I thought, like, there's no way, because I can maybe name 10 if I stretch. To me, and now that doesn't mean like if I don't know you, you're no good.
Yeah.
But I have been tattooing in this town for 21 years. So
and you tend to
I
hear
know
about the people
you
that
hear about people that are. So to me, in this town, it seems like one. And maybe you guys share with us if your town is the same way. And now Memphis isn't. There's maybe 1 million people here, including the suburbs. So it's not a huge city. But to me, there is an upper echelon or a group of solid tattooers that may kind of move a little bit from shop to shop, but for the most part, I know about 5 or 6 shops are going to stay in the range of. And then there's another level of shops that I literally know almost no one at. I never see work from those shops. There are hours when I drive up and down streets where I know they seem really sporadic to me. I can't really tell what's happening with them. And I don't know that there's an in-between.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, I guess a lot of it comes down to, obviously, the quality. I think the consistency of being able to produce quality is a big thing, too. And I think it's something that's not talked about enough in this industry, or in this craft, excuse me, for all you real Puritans.
Right.
I mean, consistency is a huge aspect of this business, because any asshole can do 1 or 2 good tattoos, It's making an awesome tattoo every time you sit down. It's pushing the boundaries, or at least your personal boundaries each time, and creating that quality. And I think that's where the line kind of divides. And you also have it at, you have people that are in this, they're in this for the money. I mean, let's face it, this craft has grown so large now. I mean, look at all the, the television shows that are on these days, and so on and so forth. I mean, you got a lot of people that are in this for the popularity of the aspect. I mean, they just want to be popular. They want to make that quick money, and then you have the people that are in this for, what I perceive to be the right reasons is, providing good quality tattoos, happy clients, and I mean, just expansive art, I mean, in this particular medium. So, I mean, I think, that's kind of where that line draws, and I don't know.
And it probably, you're right. It comes down to just a completely different approach. And I think there are, in those shops that may or may not be people that think that they're going to, get big in tattooing. It may be people with, maybe haven't found their way, maybe don't have the background, the drawing background. It's a lot tougher today to get in with no drawing skills than it used to be. And so you may find that you just end up in some of these shops. And sometimes when you end up in a rough environment, it's, you really have to fight a lot harder to get out of it. I've seen people come out of it. I started at a shop that wasn't great. I started at a shop over at Raleigh LaGrange and Covington Pike that was just like it was called Dragon Master. It's been gone for years.
Man, I've heard of that place. Yeah, you're talking about a while back.
Yeah, mid-90s. And that's where I did my apprenticeship. I started there with Jason from No Regrets. Jason.
Okay, Inger's husband.
Inger's husband.
I forget his last name.
Yeah, Jason and Inger were both, they were both there maybe a month before I started.
Okay,
we all started together. So, none of us, I don't think, made it very long there. But, I mean, you can get out of those situations, but it really, I think, takes a certain amount of drive. And Lisa here behind the scenes was just talking to me the other day about a book called Start With Why, and I started listening to it today. And so it really is all about, if you're going to make a name for yourself in this town or any other, and you're going to be above that line, you have to be able to identify why, and not just from a top-down approach, like this is why a tattoo, but every time you sit down to make a tattoo, you have to think like, why is it important to me to make this the best tattoo that I possibly can?
Absolutely.
That takes a lot of discipline. It's a
hard
thing to do
and it
every
takes
day.
a lot of moral character as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down to do a piece, and if it's just not clicking for me, I'll happily call the client and recommend them to an artist, say such as you or Tony Max. If I sit down and I start working the idea out, and I just know I cannot make this as good as it should be. Well, it behooves me to send the client to somebody that I think is going to do a better job than to sit down and try, half-ass some stuff on them because there's a $400 paycheck. That $400, fuck that, dude. I'd rather let that money go to somebody else and have a happy client. And in the end, I've had several clients come back to me over the years and tell me, I really appreciate that. When I find something that's a little more down your alley, I'll be happy to come back and visit you. It's in the end, I mean, and I think this is something a lot of tattooers around the world are continually forgetting. Is like, this isn't just about us. Like, this isn't about our egos. This is a lot to do. We're still a service industry. I mean, we're making art for somebody else, and more I hear tattooers like, I'm not going to do that Instagram shit, or, what is it, those little fucking designs customers bring in Pinterest. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any fucking Pinterest designs. It's like, if you have the clientele to where you don't have to, awesome. That's fucking, hands up to you all the way. But you get a lot of these guys that are still trying to make a name for themselves, that are still trying to learn how to put the ink in, as well as they possibly could, or maximize their efficiency, or whatever it may be, whatever your problem might be. But, they're getting egos to a point to where, God forbid, I won't fucking do that. And it's like, who gives a shit about your attitude? Like, I'm at 16 years, I can book up, I can stay as busy as possible, but if I got a spare hour between tattoos and somebody wants a sweet-ass infinity symbol, well, I'll sit down and I'll make you the best infinity symbol I possibly can, because in the end, that's one smiling customer. And I've learned that taking care of those very people, that can ultimately lead into, a couple sleeves, a back piece, simply because I told a friend about it down the line, and, boom, here we go.
And it's amazing how many people start off with that infinity symbol and end up getting a back piece.
Exactly. And I mean, we see it every day, so it's just regurgitated shit to us all the time, and I mean, but these people that walk in, this clearly means something to them. They wouldn't be fucking putting it on themselves for the rest of their lives. And who gives a shit if it's generic and it's been done a million times? How many times has that traditional fucking panther you assholes are doing every single day been done? Or that same fucking Sailor Jerry shit that you jack-offs just fucking poach and poach and poach. It looks real cool because you look fucking hip as shit. But in the end, man, it's a fucking infinity symbol, and that's cool, man. Whatever works for you, do it. But I mean, just put the egos fucking away, sit down, and make happy customers, enjoy yourself. We gotta draw on people for a fucking living. Like, dude, if you'd have told me I was doing this shit 20 years ago, I'd said you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what, like,
we got made.
I'll come home at the end of the day, and Emily will be like, "How was your day?" We're like, "I drew pictures. How bad could it have been?"
Right.
Was it my best picture? No, unfortunately, it was not. But I just drew pictures.
Yeah, somebody screwed up and thought I was worth money to draw some shit on them. This is wonderful. I love this.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Going back to things like infinity symbols and things like that, and I've heard this on two occasions. First, a guy at Atchison seminar years and years ago. I didn't hear it firsthand. Paul Look told me about it. He was in this seminar, and someone was asking Guy how to get out. It was when tribal was still big. It was the late 90s, early 2000s. Asking him, how did you get where you didn't have to do tribal tattoos anymore? And Guy was like, well, how long you been tattooing? And the guy was like, 2.5 years or whatever. And Guy's like, you need to do more tribal tattoos. Man. It's like exactly where your focus needs to be right now. You need to learn how to put in solid fills and clean lines, and that's what you need to do. And I think when you take those types of, and then Nick Baxter said it another time when he the one time he did a guest spot at Underground when we first met, someone that was at the shop then, I forget who it was, asked him, was complaining about doing kanji, and Nick had seen their work for days leading up to that.
I've heard this story. I forget who it was.
You need to do kanji. That's exactly where you need to be right now. And it's just taking that approach and saying, like, okay, I don't care that I'm sweeping the floor right now. I'm going to sweep the floor. It's going to be the cleanest this floor has ever been. This is going to be the cleanest piece of kanji I can possibly do. And now I've gotten so far removed from that. If you ask me to do a piece of kanji, I will butcher it. I can't do it. Like, I don't work that way anymore. And it's probably not a good thing.
But see, here's the whole thing is, like, you've developed your career and your abilities have developed to that point to where it's not necessary for you to do these things, and maybe you wouldn't be the best artist for it, and that's wonderful, and that's all I was trying to get at with that is, I mean, if you earn your way and you build your way up to where you don't have to do these things, fucking right on, dude, like, great for you, but I'm hearing more and more, kids that have been at this a year or two, bitching and moaning because they don't get to do what they want to do all day. Well, fucking if I got to do what I wanted to do all day, I mean, Jesus Christ, I might tattoo 2-3 days out of the week, and the rest of the time I'd be in fucking the Bahamas or some shit, you know? But I mean, this is life, I mean, we have to do what we're given, and, if a customer walks in and they think I'm the guy that they want to trust, putting someone on for the rest of their life, well, it's my job to bust my ass and do the best I can, or refer them to somebody that I know is going to do that job, because in the end, I mean, a happy customer, dude, that's, when we leave, this is all we got left. You're leaving a legacy behind you. You're either leaving a legacy of good shit you've done and people with positive attitudes towards you, or you're going to leave 1,000 people that are like, man, I went and got tattooed by that guy and he fucked me up. And, I'd rather not have those people at my funeral.
Yeah, I'm sure I have a few of those folks around.
But I'm trying to make them the minority in this situation.
Yeah. I've just tried to tattoo them again since,
Just
last week I tattooed one of my early pin cushions, like practice dummies, actually Scott's ex-wife. We went to high school together, and she has literally probably 3 or 4 of the worst tattoos I've ever done on the couch, in my bed, or in my whatever living room. And so I did a big piece on her forum last week, and it's the first time I've tattooed her in forever. And I was like, she's like, "Do you ever do watercolor tattoos?" Like, not really, but I'm gonna knock this one out of the park.
Right.
Like this time, I'm gonna kill a watercolor tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, it almost becomes like a challenge to yourself.
Right.
Like, dude, man, I've got to redeem myself to this person,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
But it's fun, you know. It adds an extra little bit of challenge to the situation, and you know, especially to people to look back at that stuff. Like, I was actually flipping through my first portfolio last night before I went to bed, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, fucking man, I thought I was really doing something at this point. This shit's horrible, you know. But how many of the clients in that book have I re-tattooed or covered up that stuff I put on? I'd say the vast majority of them, you know. And so, you know, it's a nice situation. You know?
Back to something more city oriented. Thinking about your clients as a whole, and I don't know if you can put a percentage on this or not. Do you feel like they, well, not just your clients, just as a tattooer in Memphis for 15 or 16 years, do you feel like they have grown to be more product or quality focused, or still bargain shoppers? I felt like when I first started, it wasn't just here. It was I'm sure the tattooing was, people just had the opinion that if you were in a tattoo shop, you could probably do this tattoo that they wanted. So price shopping was kind of what you did,
like they just
right?
figured a tattoo. They're
Tattoo is a
all
tattoo,
created equal,
right? And so at that point, it was, you know, you could forgive people for thinking that way. I even thought that way when I went and got my first tattoo. It was just like, who has the lowest minimum? Do you feel like as a whole this community has grown out of that?
It's definitely grown much more. I'm seeing a much more educated clientele coming in, but at the same time, I mean, I've spent, you know, the past 10, 12 years cultivating that kind of clientele, you know? I mean, like I said, I've never advertised, so everything I've done is by word of mouth up until this point. And so, you know, it's one client bringing another one in, so on and so forth. So they come in far more educated than they used to. The walk-in clientele, we still do see the bargain shoppers, but it doesn't take much, you know, to make them understand. They're like, you know, hey, dude, you know, there's a guy down the street doing this $20 less on his minimum, but, you know, you get what you pay for. You know, and I think people as a whole, I mean, just worldwide, I mean, due to the television shows or the popularity of the craft, you know, they've become much more educated simply because they have much more access to it now. And, you know, when you think back, hell, even into the 90s, I mean, you know, tattoo shops were still kind of a, you know, a seedy type environment to walk into, you know. I mean, you kind of had to nut up and walk in, and you didn't know what you were going to run into. So I think now that everything's become that much more accessible, clients have become far more intelligent. But, you know, I mean, yeah, I'd say compared to 10, 15 years ago, it's easy to say that, yeah, they're far more educated than they were then. But you're always going to have your outliers, you know, and the people that just fucking don't understand, you know. But I think those people just exist either to fucking make my life miserable or, you know, just because we have to have balance somewhere in the system.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I feel like, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit skewed because I don't have walk-ins. There's no front desk. I just have the people that come in, and for the most part, they're pretty open to my interpretation or whatever, and we never talk. I mean, there's not a lot of price talking, I guess, but so I've been out of that loop for a little while, but I just I'll be curious to see as we go through this how and ask the same questions to different Memphis tattooers what people think about that. And I feel like overall, like you're saying, the popularity of TV shows where they're literally, I just started this season for the first time ever watching Ink Master because I felt like I should kind of know what's going on in the consumer's world of tattooing. And I do appreciate that they put tattoos side by side and try to point out technical and artistic flaws or strong points because, I mean, there's a lot of drama to that, but there's some value there because I've noticed people coming in and saying like, you know, so, you'll probably recognize this more than me, but I think this is too washy, or this is this. Could you do this design but make this bolder? Or what would you do with this or that? They're coming in looking for ideas using terms that they've heard on TV shows.
Oh,
you know
absolutely,
what I mean?
absolutely.
They're like,
I mean, and it used to be like speaking Greek. Like I used to love, you know, the confused clients, and it's probably gonna make me sound like an ass, but you know, I'd start pulling shit out of my ass, you know, like, or at least language, you know, when I was trying to convince them to go a little more down my route with stuff, you know, like, oh well, I don't agree with the values in this or the tonal range or so on and so forth. You know, all this art school bullshit that, you know, you're used to selling, you know, paintings and whatnot. I throw all that out there, and you'd have somebody standing there just shaking their head, yeah, because they don't want to look fucking dumb. And so ultimately, you know, I'm basically conning them into let me do what I want. But they wanted with a better tattoo that way anyhow, so I don't really feel bad for it. But
but it legitimizes it when they've seen it on TV before. And they're like, oh yeah, I've heard Oliver Peck talk about that. I know what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And it's nice that they come in and have more understanding. I mean, it definitely makes the job a little bit easier. But at the same time, then you have the people that feel as though they know the fucking job better than you.
Yeah.
And that becomes an argument at times, too. I can't tell you how many times, I was talking about black and gray portraits earlier. Somebody will walk in and flip through my portfolio, and you're not going to see a lick of realism in the damn thing. And they'll flip through my book and be like, man, I love your fucking work, dude. You've got to be the guy to do this. What do you want? I want my fucking entire family done in portraits on my back.
Right.
I'm like, how the hell did you look at this Japanese dragon and determine that fucking, I had to do all your fucking third cousins all the way over to your mother and father on you?
Yeah, and that's something. Yeah, no doubt, that happens too. But,
I know I'm jumping back and forth.
Yeah, but I think as a whole, I think people are finding are becoming more trusting. They're learning, I think, that the bulk of their work is done when they make a decision on a tattooer, and then they're more and more like becoming hands off and saying, okay, I like your interpretation.
See, that is wonderful. I like the fact that clients are becoming far more trusting. It used to be that I'd have to do a little more convincing. These days, it's here's what it's going to cost you, here's what we can work with, and I found that clients have become far more hands off in the process, and they're just willing to let me do my thing. And, worst case scenario, I have to tell them, trust me, I've been doing this for a while. I'm doing what I know is going to be best for this particular piece of art, and the clients have been far more responsive in that these days than it used to be. I mean, it used to be, God forbid, I'm going to fucking sit here and argue over this Tasmanian devil for an hour because, you just don't clearly grasp what I'm going to go for with it.
Yeah. So do you think you've only tattooed here, basically outside of guest spots and things like that? Think it's the place that you'll retire tattooing, or would you like to explore other?
I'm not sure. I don't think like tattooing is going to be the ultimate decision maker in that. I love traveling, and one thing I do love about Memphis as an artist is I can make a fine living here. I can live well, and then when I get tired of being here, it's not much to get on a plane and skip somewhere for a little bit. The cost of living here definitely makes it more possible to be able to move around, and I enjoy that. Is it possible for me to retire here? Obviously, yes. I've put my heart and soul into tattooing in this town, and I would love to stay here, but there might be other factors to be taken into consideration. I love the beach, I love the ocean, so if there comes an opportunity for me to fucking tattoo across the street from an ocean, it's gonna be real tough to turn down at some point. So I don't know, I'll just like playing it by ear. I don't want to know what I'm doing next week, don't want to know what I'm doing next month. I just like wake up, and let's take it day by day.
If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? You're taking new
best
clients,
way to get yes, I'm taking new clients all the time. If you're trying to get in touch with me, you can reach us at 42memphis.com. It's the number 42, or you can just look me up, Dustin Schild, DUSTINSCHILD on Facebook. And, it's going to be written down here.
It's probably in the show notes.
But, yeah, they can look me up on Facebook or just call the shop, 901-388-8343.
It's amazing how many – this is the only town where people – like when I talk to tattoo – like no other place we go do tattooers still give out a phone number, but every Memphis tattooer still – every Memphis is like – I'm like, how do you get in – what's the best way people get in touch with you? Oh, yeah, 388-9 – like, wait. No, like that's not what –
well, see, like there's an ever-increasing – avenues for people to get in touch with us. And I'll turn around and I try to stay up on top of my emails. But once I'm on top of my emails, now I've got the shop Facebook page, and you got the shop Instagram, then you've got your personal Instagram. And I'm trying to run 20 different accounts to talk to people. It's like, shit, dude, just call the shop. Like, I pay somebody to deal with this aspect. So call her and she'll make all that happen. I just want to make tattoos and have fun.
Yep, absolutely. I do think it's funny that this is one of the – have you noticed that? Like, we don't go any other town, any other places where people give their phone number, but literally every Memphis tattooer gives a phone number, which I think is awesome. I think it makes us more genuine.
Yeah, right?
It's like, call me.
It's a Memphis thing. You know? Welcome to Memphis, yo.
Southern hospitality. Man, Dustin, thanks a lot. It was a blast.
Problem,
check out Dustin's work. If you want to get tattooed, you should. Do you guys ever take that's one more thing I wanted to ask. Do you guys have a room for guest artists?
Yes, we've always got room for guest artists. If you're ever interested in working in Memphis, that phone number we were just discussing, give a call to that, or stop by one of my personal pages, and I'd love to view your artwork, and let's talk. We've always got a spot open for you.
Cool. Thank you guys. TattooImprovement.com. Sign up and either come see us in Hell City, Impact, Memphis, wherever else we're going to be. If you go to Fireside or if you go to Tattoo Improvement, you'll see where we're going to be. Thanks as always for supporting what we do, and we will see you next time.
Cool, man. You're natural. Oh, that was quick and easy. Yeah. Nice and easy. Yeah, I felt like one of those sports